and we had put a moratorium on the violence. There was no more shootings. We were trying to negotiate a settlement. I went to him unannounced. I just showed up.
Where'd you go?
I was in Terre Haute, Indiana, at a prison bike show, and the Hells Angels and the Outlaws in the prison put this bike show on together. And I went there. I was one of the guys from the street that went.
Because in the prisons, the bike gangs, they
don't fight.
You don't fight in prison. You got to. You're
that
in the
was
same
always
car.
my position: is we're not fighting in prison. Why are we fighting on the street?
Right.
Where we have everything we want.
And is the reason you're not fighting in prison is because why is that?
Well, I think because of the confinement. I think out of respect. If you were fighting on a daily basis, they'd shut the prison yard down. I'm sure the other prison gangs would not be happy with you. You know, you've got the Aryan Brotherhood, the Mexican Mafia, and the Black Guerrilla family that kind of runs most of the prisons. Started here in California and kind of drifted out. And one of the things, first time I went to prison in 1986, Guy Castellano from San Diego was a very powerful leader in the club back then and remained in the club till he passed away. But I said, when I got there, I was young guy, young leader in the Hells Angels. And I said, who do we need to worry about in here? And he laughed. He goes, nobody. And I said, what do you mean nobody? He goes, we don't fight in prison. I said, we don't fight in prison? He goes, no. He goes, there's Mongols in there, outlaws, banditos. And I said, well, why are we fighting on the street? And he, the guy was just a character. He goes, you think too much, man. Just relax and enjoy it.
So tell me about going to see Taco.
Well, Stairway Harry, who was a former international leader of, you got to love the names, was the former international leader of the Outlaws. He kind of made a political move with me. We were leaving the prison and shook hands. I said, hey, man, it's been a pleasure meeting you, Harry. I said, I've been hearing about you for years. And he goes, hey, I got a question for you. And I said, okay. And he said, and he was very careful how he structured the question. He goes, the 50th anniversary is coming up in Sturgis. And he goes, how do you feel about us going? He didn't say we're going, or, he was very structured.
Because normally Outlaws.
Well, they didn't go to that run.
That was a Hells Angels.
That was a Hells Angel Bandito run. And we shared it with the Banditos. They went there first, and they were gracious enough, when we started showing up in numbers, they didn't have a problem with it. But he was very careful. He said, how do you feel about us going? And I said, well, I don't know. I have to think about it. He goes, Taco's right up the street from us, about 2 miles, in a motel. And I thought, shit. So I just went up there by myself. And I got to the motel, and I walked up, and I see the Outlaws looking at me. There's about 10 of them outside the
And you're
building.
wearing...
I got my colors on, and I'm, Hells Angel George Christie. And they surrounded me. And they go, what are you doing, man? And I go, is Taco here? And they go, yeah, but what are you doing here? I go, I want to talk to Taco. And the one guy that seemed to be in charge said, does he know you're coming here? And I go, no. And he just goes, you're a crazy motherfucker. He goes, go get Taco. And one of the guys went in and got him. So I'm standing there, I'm surrounded by these guys, and I don't even remember this gentleman's name. We're exchanging some dialogue. And Taco came around the corner, and like Taco's guys stopped. He had complete dominance of those guys. And they all turned to look at Taco. And I looked at him, and I said, well, he's smiling. I go, that's a good sign.
There you go.
And we all kind of started laughing. And Taco just shook his head. He goes, what are you doing, man? I said, well, I came to talk to you. And the first thing I said to him, I said, look, I don't know about your club, but our club, there are new members, and they don't even know why we're fighting.
Yeah.
And he kind of looked at me and smiled. And I said, look, Taco, if you were born in California, there's no doubt you would be a Hells Angel. And I said, if I was born in Chicago, I know I'd be an outlaw. I go, we got so much in common, man. What's the problem? And we just started talking from there. Next time you see Mel, ask him to tell you about Spike, because Spike's the one that Spike was an ex-Army Ranger, I was told, killed 4 or 5 Hells Angels back there in a matter of months. And
in Chicago. Yeah,
Chicago area, Indiana, Chicago. And he pushed Taco back into the war. Taco called me and told me. He said, I'm getting a lot of pressure. And there's a speech that Taco gave that one of the informants that eventually flipped on Taco told a reporter. I've got a news article. I should send you I have a book I wrote about it, and I'll get you a copy.
Thank you.
It's really interesting. But he called me. Taco called me, and it was like just two scooter tramps talking one-on-one. There was no politics. There was no agenda. And that's the last time I talked to him, maybe the second to the last time I talked to him. And he basically told me, he said, hey, man, I'm getting a lot of political pressure. And he goes, how about on your end? And I said, you think I'm popular? I go, I'm the most unpopular guy in the club right now.
Yeah.
And I said, after you and I appeared on the cover of that magazine, I go, man, there's some people hating on me.
Yeah.
And we talked, and we had a very candid conversation. But apparently I didn't impress him enough, because a few weeks later he sent a hit team out here to kill me.
Oh, did he?
And they showed up here in Ventura. They had a map to my house, pictures of me. They were driving a car. One guy flew out. Two guys flew out. One guy drove out.
How do you know all this?
Police had to come and tell me that there had been a murder attempt on my life that they had foiled. They have a moral obligation. They'll come to you, and they'll say, we have a moral obligation to let you know this is what transpired.
When you go to that motel that Taco's at and you're going there, all those guys are there. There's been, whether you've been involved, not been involved.
Well, we're all involved. If you're a Hell's Angel, you're involved.
Exactly.
You're an outlaw, you're involved.
In one way or the other, there have
Absolutely.
been many people who have been beaten and killed because of this war between these two clubs. And you're rolling over there by yourself.
Right.
And there's what, 15, 20, 30 guys there,
Probably at least 18, 15.
whatever
20.
it is. When you're pulling in there, you're armed with the fact that you're going there to make peace, to be like, hey, man, I'm just looking at you man to man. What is that right? Like, what's your mindset going in there?
My position was, and I'm going to say something, I'm going to comment on it after this statement. My position was I was doing the right thing. And I was doing it for the benefit of the Hells Angels, the Outlaws, the outlaw community at large,
Sure.
and the people around us.
Yeah.
And I also felt invincible, John. You ever have that feeling?
I do.
When I was young, man, I just felt invincible. I thought nothing could stop me. And
But can I ask you about that? I mean, like, is that, I guess where I'm going is that invincibility, was that something that you just had with you all the time? Or was that in certain situations, depending upon your intentionality or depending on where your heart was at?
I felt like I was invincible at all times. I'm not my ego.
Yeah, no, I get it.
The way I felt like nothing could stop me. I felt I had right on my side. And, as you get older, you learn right doesn't always win.
That's right.
But, if, you look at the history of these people that took on different cultures, different empires and whatnot. You look at Hannibal, there's no way he was going to beat the Romans, but he had to give it a try.
Would you feel that way even in the face of real violence? I mean, I know you've been involved in real violence.
Yeah,
real
I've been
violence
shot
against
at. The clubhouse been bombed twice. And that's not the only violence. Like false charges from law enforcement, indictments. I had a 59-count state racketeering indictment once. I spent a year in solitary confinement.
But through all of that feeling of invincibility remained.
Well, no, it starts getting chipped away as you get older.
Sure.
And I don't know if you get more sensible.